What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about a video that some of you might be surprised that I'm talking about, and that is eating disorders. More specifically, my own eating disorder that I dealt with for the past year or so. Now, this video isn't supposed to be a cry for help, nor is it something that I'm really going through right now. It's just something that I wanted to talk about because it has been on my mind lately. It is one of the things that I've realized that I need to work on, and I feel like every time I go on YouTube and I see another video that relates to something that I've gone through personally, I really do enjoy the fact that there's other people who talk about it and share their experiences with a certain thing that I personally have felt myself. To get started, I want to talk about what type of eating disorder I had, and that is binge eating. Now, binge eating is basically when you overeat to the point where they feel really sick. They could be full already with food, but they still continue to eat up until the point where they really just can't go anymore, or up until they feel sick, which is something that I have struggled with recently and in the past. To give you guys a bit of context on how this started, I want to go back to years ago to where this pretty much all started. I started taking my fitness seriously around 2017, and I would say I didn't make much progress on my fitness goals because I didn't really have a clear idea of what I wanted to do or how to do it. I spent a good majority of 2018 on this really dumb vegan diet where I tried to really help my acne as much as possible, where I restricted things like oil, a lot of meat, a lot of butter, a lot of eggs. It's called the Clear Skin Diet, and it was put on by Nina and Randa, who are other two YouTubers who said they cleared their acne through their diet. Now, I did that for about a good year, and I wasn't eating, my nutrition wasn't on par with my training, so I didn't really experience much muscle growth, or my body wasn't really doing anything special up until that time. Now, fast forward to early 2019, I believe, I decided to go on a bulk, and a bulk in bodybuilding is when you eat a surplus of calories in order to put on more muscle mass. So what you do is that you bulk for a certain period of time, you gain more body fat, but you also put on more mass, and then the point of that is to cut all the body fat and show off the muscle you put on in that bulk. So I didn't really have a clue on how to do that, so I spent the next 2 months eating as much as I can. I was eating around 3,400 calories because I saw a YouTube video on how to bulk up. I gained around 20 to 25 pounds in a span of 2 months, and as you guys can see from these videos, I got kind of chubby. My face, I think, was the roundest it had ever been, and when I saw that, I was, kind of in shock that I actually looked like that up at that point. So what happened after that is that I saw a YouTube video on how to cut weight and how to count your macros. So when it came to counting macros, I saw that people, when they did that, they had a designated amount for each micronutrient. So they had a certain amount of grams for carbs, fats, and protein. And when I saw this video on how other people did it, I decided to implement that myself. Started off well, I just knew that I had to eat below what I was currently eating at, because at that point I wasn't even eating to be full. I was kind of just eating and eating to get bigger, not knowing that I was just getting fatter. Now, the first few months were okay. I was able to restrict my calories and I still felt okay. But as the months went on and I kept losing more weight, so I decided to cut even more and decided to go into the 140s. And that is where things got bad. Now, when I say things got bad, is that that's when I realized I was going to sleep hungry. I was waking up hungry. What happens when you restrict yourself with your calories? Now, one, what happens is that you constantly are thinking about food. You wake up thinking about food. You go to sleep thinking about food. You start thinking about how you're going to plan your days, and you're going to incorporate certain maybe cookies or certain sweets into your food. That way you can actually still lose weight. But since you're counting your calories, you try to put in maybe like a cookie, still maintain a caloric deficit. And that was my life for like a few months. I was literally, thinking about food all the time. I was thinking of how I can, fit in this cookie and still lose weight, counting my macros. But what happened is that usually I would take one day out of the whole week just to binge eat whatever I wanted to. And the thing about, this is what some people would call a cheat day, because in cheat days they legit just go crazy. They eat whatever they want and they just don't stop until they're full. They stop until they feel really sick. And that's really what I would do. Like, I would wake up, eat so many pancakes, then I would go buy some pizza, then I would eat so much ice cream, and then I would also eat, cookies, anything sweet or savory that I could get my hands on that I restricted myself from that previous week. I would just eat on a certain day, and then the day after that, I would go back on the diet to keep maintaining my caloric deficit. And this is what I looked like at the end of that cut, as you would say. But as you guys can tell, I was really thin, I was really skinny. But at that point, I thought I looked pretty good because I was able to shut off all the fat. And I was able to see abs for the first time in my life. And I felt good at that moment. But looking back, I kind of see that I was a little bit too skinny. And it's not the best thing for yourself when you're going to sleep hungry all the time and you're waking up hungry and food is constantly on your mind, because that's how much you're restricting yourself. And how did this lead to binge eating? The people in bodybuilding in general, what happens is that they take one day out of the whole week to binge eat because they know that they're not going to be able to eat this way for the next 6 days up until their next cheat meal at the end of the week. And that's what I would do, because one of the things that I would do is that I legit would eat until I was sick. One time I went to McDonald's with my brother. I was full already eaten a cheat meal previously, but me and my brother went to McDonald's and I got another Big Mac with chicken nuggets and fries and a Diet Coke. And the thing about it is that I just did it because I knew starting the day after that I was gonna have to either restrict my calories, do a lot of cardio to get back to where I was. And that's something that I found has not really been healthy for me, because having this type of a relationship with food, how you're gonna restrict yourself the next day after you binge, isn't really healthy. Because one of the things that happens is that every time I would binge, I would really feel bad about myself. I would feel guilty. I would always end up restricting my calories the next day really severely, doing a lot of cardio to get back to where I was. Now, a lot of people might do that and have no problem with it, but it got to the point where I was seeing that I was doing that more and more often in order to stay lean and be at a certain body fat percentage. Another thing, I've never really, thrown up on purpose or did anything like that. That's something that I've never actually had to deal with. My disorder was more about just binge eating until I felt sick and couldn't go anymore. Which brings me to my next point. It was a post on Instagram, I believe, and it said that, just because someone looks healthy, someone has a nice body or looks healthy, doesn't mean that they're actually healthy physically. And that could be really true, because I know when it comes to like fitness and bodybuilding, there's a lot of times people have a really nice body, but they really are restricting themselves with their calories. They don't go out with friends because they don't want to ruin their diet. They don't eat sometimes, they go to bed hungry, they're thinking about food all the time, and that's not really a good way to live your life all the time, because when you have all that on your mind, you're not really able to focus on a lot of other things. You tend to lose focus on what's actually important. And that's one of the things that I noticed about the fitness community, is that they may look great physically, but they don't tend to be the healthiest type of people when you think about it, because eating disorders, I found out, are really big in the fitness community, whether it's throwing up, not eating, overeating, or just having a really weird relationship with food to the point where like they're always thinking about it. And it's just something that I don't find is really healthy, and sometimes I feel like it can really take over someone's life. But it's one of the things that can be managed, and one of the things that I have found helps me is that I don't want to restrict myself too much. You guys might be wondering, why am I bringing this up now? Well, one of the things that I wanted to do when I started my YouTube channel was talk about things that other people, could relate to, and I could help out, and I could help them out with. And whether that's, OCD, any type of OCD, acne, or even things that relate to eating disorders. I've gone through it, so I thought, why not talk about something that personally I think is something that a lot of people go through, something that I went through, and I could talk about it and share my experience with you. Because honestly, I think there's this misconception of a lot of people who look healthy, who have a lot of discipline, and that may be true. They might have a lot of discipline and could be healthy for the majority of the time. But when you think about it, there are some times where just because they look healthy or they look fit doesn't necessarily mean they're always doing the safest or the healthiest practices. Because I guarantee you, being at a certain level of body fat or being really lean and depriving yourself of food isn't really going to be helping you in the long run, because one, you feel like garbage when you're constantly feeling hungry. You feel like you have a loss of energy. Your whole mindset on food just changes, and it's something that me personally, I had to work on myself when I was binging. And a lot of you guys might be surprised to hear that coming from me, but yeah, it is true. I have dealt with a binge eating disorder, and it's something that I personally wanted to talk about, I guess bring awareness to. And lastly, to talk about some of the ways I'm combating binge eating is just to take a few small steps to just remind myself that I don't need to be too hard on myself. If I eat something that's not considered healthy, it's not the end of the world. I don't need to eat until I'm full. Just because I eat one bad thing doesn't mean I need to eat so many bad things, because I can't eat that stuff for the rest of the week. Because one of the things now that I try to do is just incorporate foods that I like throughout my everyday life. So if there's a slice of pizza, I'm not going to wait until a week to eat a whole pizza. I'm just going to have 1 to 2 slices maybe today, and that way I won't feel like I need to just binge and eat the whole thing. Because as I've seen in the past, as I've said, it's not the most healthiest thing to do, and it can be a problem when you're constantly doing it and becomes a cycle, and it could really ruin your mindset when it comes to food. So what are some of the things that you might take away from this video? Well, for one, if you have a binge eating disorder, just know that if you have it, or if you realize that you have that problem, just acknowledge that you have it. Take some steps into working on it. There's tons of videos out there, tons of articles where some people have had the same problem. and they took steps to, not completely stop it. We are human, we're gonna make mistakes, we're gonna binge here and there. There could be a party or there could be a certain case where you're just gonna eat a little bit more than you need to. But the point is not to eat to the point where you feel sick and you wanna throw up. And that's the part where we need to acknowledge that we have a problem. So yeah guys, thanks again for coming to the channel. I hope this was relatable for some of you, and if you are going through a binge eating disorder, just know that there are ways to get help, and this doesn't have to be a way you have to live your life. Thank you guys again for coming, and I will see you guys later. Bye.